So, you want to study like a machine, huh? Ask yourself, when was the last time you actually studied without grabbing your phone every 10 minutes, like a junkie craving a hit? Doesn't that embarrass you? Your parents are busting their asses to give you an education, and you're out here wasting time on porn, stupid games, scrolling through social media, and pretending to study, when deep down, you know you're barely at 50% of your true potential. Real alpha behavior right there, bro. I'm probably the only guy on YouTube who actually understands your struggle and will give you real, battle-tested solutions, not the same recycled generic BS every study guru preaches. I was a complete disaster. Zero focus, shit discipline, parents ready to disown me. Most of my time wasted jerking off, chasing short-term dopamine like a goddamn lab rat. But if a degenerate like me could turn my brain into a learning machine, so can you. In just 2 weeks, you'll start seeing real, undeniable progress. But you gotta trust me, and more importantly, trust yourself. Your current study methods? A joke. You're not struggling because the material is hard. You're struggling because your discipline is pathetic. You keep telling yourself you're trying your best, but deep down, you know you haven't even scratched the surface of what you're capable of. But here's the deal. I'm about to reprogram your entire mindset. These methods will turn you from a distracted, mediocre student into a fucking machine, someone who absorbs knowledge like breathing air. It sounds extreme because it is, but that's the difference between the exceptional and the average. Step 1. The information overload technique. You know what's fucked up? Watching your potential waste away while your brain keeps playing these bullshit games with you. I know because I've been there. I used to be a complete disaster academically. Smart enough to know I was underperforming, but too weak to do anything about it. Every time I'd hit something challenging, my brain would shut down. Too difficult, it would whisper. Let's take a break, it would suggest. And like a puppet, I'd obey. My grades were in the toilet. My confidence? Non-existent. I was watching everyone else succeed while I kept falling behind, making the same excuses over and over again. Then I discovered something that changed everything. I had to break my brain's resistance through controlled overload. Here's exactly what I did. The flooding phase. I set a timer for 20 minutes and consumed information like my life depended on it. No pausing to understand, no rereading difficult parts, just pure, aggressive intake. I forced myself to move forward regardless of comprehension. The second that timer hit 0, I closed everything and immediately started recalling everything I could remember. I recorded myself stumbling, forgetting, mixing things up. It was humiliating, but necessary. Without giving myself time to recover, I reviewed what I missed and immediately went back to step 1. 3 brutal rounds, no breaks. My brain screamed for mercy. The first time I tried this, I felt like I was going to have a mental breakdown. It was painful, physically painful. My head throbbed, my eyes burned. Everything in me wanted to quit, but by the 3rd round, something shifted. My brain, desperate to avoid the embarrassment of forgetting again, started locking onto information with laser precision. Concepts that confused me for weeks suddenly clicked into place. 2 weeks of this technique, I could see huge changes in me. Not because I got smarter, but because I finally stopped letting my brain dictate the terms of my learning. This technique isn't pretty, it's not balanced, but it fucking works. And if you're sick of mediocrity like I was, you'll try it today. Another thing which I had mentioned in one of my other videos as well, which is you have to track every single hour. If you are someone who is truly cooked, then there's no shortcut. You have to analyze every single hour if you really want to change. Go to the link in my description to get the free hourly based planner and print out a couple of copies and use it every single day for 2 weeks straight. Now let's talk about the competition crusher method. I used to think I was giving it my all. I'd pat myself on the back after studying for a few hours, convinced I was working harder than everyone else. What a joke. The truth? I had no real standard for comparison, no benchmark, nothing pushing me beyond my comfortable little bubble of effort. My wake-up call came when I saw my ranking after midterms, not even close to where I thought I'd be. All those hours of hard work amounted to average results at best. That night, something in me snapped. Here's what changed everything. I identified the top performer in my program, someone whose success made me feel like an absolute failure, someone who seemed to excel effortlessly while I struggled. I obsessed over their success. I printed their academic achievements and plastered them on my wall. I found out their study schedule and compared it to mine. I followed their social media to see how they spent their time. Creepy? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. I made it public. I told everyone that I was going to outperform them on the next exam. Friends, family, classmates, everyone. I put my reputation on the line. Failure wasn't just private anymore. It would be humiliating. I created a spreadsheet documenting their study habits versus mine. Hours invested, practice problems completed, mock tests taken. I could no longer hide from the truth about my effort. The first week was brutal. Seeing the gap between us, quantified in cold, hard numbers, was a punch to the gut, but it lit a fire under me that nothing else could. This same thing I applied when I started my channel, and it literally blew up within 2 months. I started putting in real work, not the performative bullshit I'd been doing before. When I wanted to quit, I'd look at their picture and think about the public embarrassment waiting for me if I failed. By the next exam cycle, I wasn't just close to their level, I had surpassed them. Not because I'm naturally gifted, but because competition pushed me to access parts of my potential I didn't know existed. This technique strips away your delusions about how hard you're working. It forces you to face reality. And reality, however painful, is where real growth begins. If you're still watching this, then it really shows that you desperately want to change. Believe me, more than 60% of people have already clicked off from this video and probably scrolling shorts or reels. I've made a Notion template for all of you. It has a gamified habit tracker, study planner, daily journal, everything which you need. You don't have to pay shit to me. Just go to the link and download it. Let's talk about the third step, okay? The information immersion chamber. I remember the exact moment I realized my approach to studying was a complete joke. I was failing, despite studying every day. The problem? I was treating learning like a part-time job when it needed to be an obsession. My wake-up call came when I calculated how many hours I was actually exposing my brain to useful information. Maybe 3 to 4 hours a day, if I was being generous. The rest, wasted on social media, pointless conversations, and breaks that lasted longer than my study sessions. So I made a decision that seemed insane at the time. I transformed my environment. I turned my entire living space into a study zone. Formulas on bathroom mirrors, key concepts taped above my bed, flashcards on the refrigerator, diagrams on the walls. There wasn't a single place I could look without seeing something related to what I needed to learn. I went digitally dark. I deleted every non-essential app from my phone. I installed blockers on all distracting websites. I told friends I was going underground for 2 weeks. My social life? Temporarily dead. I created audio immersion. I recorded myself explaining difficult concepts and played these recordings constantly while cooking, showering, exercising, even as I fell asleep. My brain was processing information 24/7, whether I was conscious of it or not. I redefined breaks. When I needed a change, I didn't reach for social media. I switched subjects. Physical activity became an opportunity to listen to lectures. Meals became review sessions. Every moment of my day had a purpose. The first 3 days were hell. I felt isolated, overwhelmed, and anxious. My brain rebelled against the constant input, but then something shifted. The resistance faded. Information started connecting in ways it never had before. After a few weeks, I saw some changes in me when I got back to study. I realized that I wasn't memorizing anymore. I was thinking in concepts. The material had become part of me. This technique isn't about balance. It's not about studying smart. It's about total, uncompromising immersion. It's about making learning as natural as breathing. If this sounds extreme, ask yourself, are you satisfied with your current results? Because average commitment produces average outcomes, and you wouldn't be watching this if average was enough for you. So that's it for today. If you're looking for a community of like-minded individuals, consider joining my Discord server. It's a great place for those who enjoy facing reality checks head-on and are dedicated to self-improvement. If you're passionate about growing and evolving, regardless of gender, subscribe to this channel. Lastly, I've added some brief video tutorials related to the template. While they may not cover everything, they'll help you get started. Spend 10 to 20 minutes exploring the template. Don't worry if you make mistakes. You can always duplicate it again in your Notion workspace.